And we're going to dive into breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that is pretty urgent and will take effect on Saturday. If you are watching this news story on Saturday, you're seeing the clip of this story. And so just know that while I'm having this conversation. But breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. It appears that Donald Trump has decided to move forward with these executive order, the tariff order on Canada and Mexico, and I believe maybe 10% on China. I want to get into this story, and I know sometimes people feel like, well, it's foreign policy, is not really going to affect us. No, this will affect us directly. Again, Donald Trump is moving forward with tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and it looks like 10% of China. We're going to go ahead and dive into this story right here.
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits. And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
Breaking news. These tariffs against Canada and Mexico will start on Saturday. So if you're watching the clip, which you will see on Saturday, that would be today. So that being said, people need to understand that this is going to have a direct impact on us because we do receive goods and products from Canada and Mexico. And I believe I read somewhere that maybe 10% of these tariffs may go towards China. And if that's the case, you need to ask another question. Why only 10% to China? You know, China has a stronger economy. So maybe it's that he realizes, well, we can't go too heavily on China because we get even more goods from them than we do Canada and Mexico. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. My advice to all of you is if you have not been to the grocery store yet and you need to go grocery shopping, you should probably go ahead and do that. You may think that these tariffs against Mexico and Canada will not have an effect there, but that's actually wrong. Actually wrong. So let's continue on, folks. I'm not kidding around. It's starting Saturday.
Part of that, though, because we get oil from Canada.
Oil is going to have nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Oil has nothing to do with it.
Tariffs on Canada and Mexico, 25%. That's coming on Saturday?
That's coming on the first Saturday.
But no oil tariff, no oil tariffs.
No, I don't. Well, I didn't say that. You said that. No.
Well, I don't want to misinterpret.
No, we may or may not. We're going to make that determination probably tonight on oil. Yeah, because they send us oil. We'll see. It depends on what the price is. If the oil is properly priced, if they treat us properly, which they don't. Look, Mexico and Canada have never been good to us on trade. They've treated us very unfairly on trade. And we will be able to make that up very quickly because we don't need the products that they have. We have all the oil you need. We have all the trees you need, meaning the...
If we don't need the products that they have, if we have all the oil that we need, then why are we getting oil from them? If we have all the products, the trees and everything that we need, why are we receiving products from them? Because we don't have everything that we need. We don't produce enough here in this country. Once upon a time we did, but corporations became very greedy. And they sent jobs to other countries and they decided, you know, it's actually cheaper to get some of these goods and products from other countries. Let's continue on.
Lumber. We have more than almost anybody in those two categories. In oil, we have more than anybody, and we don't need anybody's trees. We have to free up some of the tree areas that we have. We have great lumber in this country. We have to free them up environmentally, which I can do very quickly. But we don't need what they have. And for us to be subsidizing Canada to the tune of $175 billion a year and subsidizing Mexico to the tune of $250 billion, $300 billion a year, and Mexico is a method of China sending in its product. And with China, I'm also thinking about something because they're sending fentanyl into our country. And because of that, they're causing us hundreds of thousands of deaths. So China is going to end up paying a tariff also for that. And we're in the process of doing that.
Okay, folks, if you're just joining again, the tariffs against Mexico and definitely Canada will start on Saturday. Now, I want to show you how this is going to impact us here in the United States, since we do receive goods and services from these countries. Here is how these tariffs can impact your wallet. And I think that's what a lot of you want to know. Like, how is this going to affect my purse? Listen to this.
Tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich.
Tariffs are a major part of President-elect Donald Trump's foreign policy and economic agenda.
We want fairness from other countries. We have not been treated fairly, and we're going to get fairness.
Put simply, tariffs are a tax on goods from another country paid by the company importing them, usually to protect national industries or as a trade negotiation tool. Quick history lesson. In the U.S., tariffs started out steep.
You can say there were three distinct periods of tariff history in the United States. It's from, say, 1790 to 1860, when tariffs were the main source of federal revenue. Something like 90% of all federal revenues was based on taxing imports. From the Civil War to the Great Depression of the 1930s, we had tariffs for protection. Tariffs were raised to very high levels on a variety of imports, and basically those industries were protected.
But that changed in the mid-1930s.
Policymakers decided that high tariffs were not really good for the American economy. So from the 1930s all the way up to now, we've had a progressively lower and lower tariffs.
In 2018, President Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on China, an effort to reduce the trade deficit and boost U.S. manufacturing. The Biden administration kept most of these tariffs and
Pause, and we'll go back a little bit. I just wanted you to hear this part, because one of the things they do mention, at least they were honest, that Donald Trump imposed tariffs during his first presidency, but the Biden administration also decided to maintain some of those tariffs as well. So this is something that both administrations have done. And then remember, one of the things a lot of people complained about during Biden-Harris administration was the economy, the high prices. I told you guys the price of eggs just soared up again. So these tariffs that we have on these other countries, yes, it does impact us economically. It can hit your wallet. I think people do need to understand that when you hear politicians say, let's bring manufacturing back to the U.S. again, they're not talking about your mom and your grandparents' manufacturing, where people are standing on an assembly line and they're just pushing the products through. Those days are long gone. Technology has consumed a lot of those positions, or they were sent, those jobs were sent overseas to China as well. So while manufacturing has been coming back to the United States, you do have to understand it will never be the way that it was back in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. So people really do have to understand that. But both of these administrations have continued to allow tariffs. So you can't say it was just a Trump thing. You can't say it was just a Biden thing.
Manufacturing. The Biden administration kept most of these tariffs and, in some cases, even raised them on $18 billion of Chinese goods, though the move is said to be largely symbolic.
The 2018 tariffs do appear, as best economists can judge things, to have raised the price level by 1% to 2%.
Larry,
did you hear that? So raising the price level by 1% to 2%. And those are the tariffs from 2018.
Summers is former U.S. Treasury Secretary under Democratic President Bill Clinton. He says the tariffs were not effective.
The evidence is that they made a small contribution to inflation. Tariffs tend to make the people in the countries who impose them poorer because they raise the price of what they buy, and that makes paychecks go less far.
But not with Russia, right? So tariffs with some countries, it depends, right? Like think about all of the sanctions that the US has hit Russia with, and Russia's economy still continues to be fine, right? So some countries can withstand it if they have a strong economy, and then there are others that may not be able to tolerate this as well. Now that's coming from Larry Summers, but this guy here is going to say something different. Watch this.
But others, like Orrin Cass, chief economist at conservative think tank American Compass, say tariffs ultimately benefit the economy.
What we saw in 2018 when President Trump first imposed a lot of tariffs was there were some places where there was an effect on prices. A lot of times that was short-lived. When we do collect tariffs, if people do have to pay more, that's tax revenue that goes to the government. So we can use that to reduce other taxes. We can use that to reduce our deficit. We can use that to actually support the creation of more manufacturing here in the United States.
While the efficacy
But none of that increases the amount of money in your wallet. None of that increases like your bank account. So that's something that people do need to keep in mind. Notice they continue to show you the pictures of people at the grocery store, right? Because when I show you this, you're going to see other things that we get from Canada, Mexico. And if I remember correctly, the tariffs that Donald Trump had in 2018, I don't believe those tariffs were against Mexico and Canada. I know there were tariffs against China. So we're talking about two different countries here that we do actually get more from than people realize.
Of tariffs is still widely debated. Their international reach is indisputable. After President Trump's tariffs on China in 2018, the country retaliated with tariffs of its own on U.S. goods. Now in 2025, Mexico is threatening to do the same after President Trump said he would impose strict tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada.
I think we may be in the midst of a sort of third big change in U.S. tariff policy.
And that's tariffs simply explained.
So Mexico is already responding, and Mexico is saying that they may hit us back with tariffs. So you see this back and forth. And so when I say like open the floodgates, that's the theme tonight, because the floodgates are opening. And yes, they can respond to us in that way. But what exactly do we get from Canada and Mexico? And this is what I want people to see. We have a great graph here. What does the U.S. import from Canada and Mexico? Check this out. So from Canada and Mexico, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I guess we can't make the graph bigger, but I'll go back to the other chart. From Canada and Mexico. Now, red is Canada, green is Mexico. So machinery and transport, 26% from Canada, 74% from Mexico. I'm assuming, because I don't see another category closer to this, I'm assuming part of that could have to include auto parts. Because for those who are not aware, a lot of the auto parts that we receive in this country come from Mexico. So think about it this way, fam. Again, you might think to yourself, that's not going to affect me. What happens if your check engine light comes on and your car start making this weird noise? I'm used to the check engine light, okay? So I'm the check engine queen. I'm taking my car to the shop every other month. Anyway, it's always something. But you take your car to the shop and they tell you, okay, well, we have to replace the alternator or something like that. You know, something that's not really cheap, but it's not super expensive or whatever. And let's say typically they'll tell you, with parts and labor, they kill me when they do that. With parts and labor, you're looking at roughly around $200. Okay. But if this continues, which it says these tariffs will start on Saturday, and we don't know how long it's going to last either. But if it continues, now you may have to pay more because the auto parts, most of them come from Mexico. So again, you might think it won't affect you until something happens. There's more. Mineral fuels and lubricants. Okay. 85% from Canada, 15% from Mexico. So I don't know if anyone's looking to purchase some KY jelly or any of that jazz. But apparently we're receiving that from Mexico and Canada too. It's really interesting. Like some of these goods. People are going to laugh now. We're moving on to manufactured goods. This says it includes vehicles, electronics that have undergone a significant manufacturing process. So 61% from Canada, 39% from Mexico. So that's manufactured goods that we also get from both of those countries. Then there's also miscellaneous manufactured, covers less standardized products like furniture and toys. 30% from Canada, 70% from Mexico. Now, here's something that we could fix. Why are we getting furniture from Canada and Mexico? We can't build furniture here? And maybe we don't build all of it here, but still, why are we getting furniture from other countries? Let's bring back the wood shop classes so that people can learn how to build furniture again in this country. But again, may not be something that you're thinking about until, let's say, like your table breaks or something like that, and you have to go replace a table, or a bookshelf is another one, right? May not think about it at that time. Someone is telling me something about the lubricant. This is funny. Oh, thank you, Jim. Hey, I have no shame. Jim said lubricants is industrial. Thank you. Hey, when it's live, it's live. I'm sorry. Okay, carrying on. Food and live animals. This one was a doozy too. This one kind of threw me for a loop. 51% from Canada, 49% from Mexico. Why are we getting food and live animals from Canada and Mexico? Now, some of you may think this doesn't affect you either, but if you like avocado toast, or you like to put avocados in your smoothies, you know, people love that avocado. Or if you want to make some damn guacamole, or if you want to go to a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, and you want guacamole on your taco or your quesadilla, that would also increase. Because I think the only places that we get avocados from, I think it's Mexico and California. Doesn't California also grow avocados? I think it does. I know, Joy. It is. My mind is in the gut. I don't know what's going on tonight. Okay. Yeah. So you remember the commercials, avocados from Mexico. Yeah. So those two, something you may not think about. Avril said mangoes too. That's another one, again, that you may not think about. It goes on to say other commodities, 60% from Canada, 40% from Mexico. Chemicals, 75% from Canada, 25% from Mexico. Crude materials, this excludes fuels. 84% from Canada, 16% from Mexico. And beverages and tobacco, 12% from Canada and 88% from Mexico. But as you can see, the most that we receive is machinery and transport up there at the top. And if I scroll here, they also have a table here that you can see where they have the category, Canada, Mexico, and the total, and they can show you how much money. Look, billions of dollars. This is something I wanted you to hear too as well. The largest share comes from machinery, vehicles, oil, and petroleum products. Again, not something you may think about until something happens with your car. So just something to keep in mind. It says that Mexico is the world's 7th largest passenger vehicle manufacturer, and 76% of its exports go to the United States. Oh boy, this is a big one. I'll make this bigger so you guys can see. The U.S. imports fruits, vegetables, including tomatoes, berries, and avocados from Mexico. Mexico is the 2nd largest supplier of agricultural products to America. So I brought up the avocados, but berries, tomatoes. How many of you like a good tomato, right? With your sandwich, or you want to make spaghetti sauce? You need those crushed tomatoes. So keep in mind, think about this, guys. Canada's top export product to the U.S. is crude petroleum and gas. But the country also has an import share of other products like vehicles, machinery, and electronics. And again, like I said, so when we're talking about prices will probably increase, then that also means that you might see gas prices increase too. So I'm like, here we go again, right? So, I don't know, man. Again, it starts on Saturday. This is in response to the immigration demands that Donald Trump has made, where he wants Mexico and Canada to strongly, I guess, shut down their borders so that we are not having that migration take place. And he is, of course, blaming them for the fentanyl crisis that's coming into the U.S., et cetera. And I think some people thought that Donald Trump was joking at first when he started talking about this. But no, he's not joking. And the tariffs start on Saturday. So my advice to everybody is, if you need to go grocery shopping, if you want to get some avocados, you might want to do that tonight. I don't know. But tomatoes, berries, all of that jazz. But the floodgates are open. All right. Let's go to some of the comments here. I know people said tacos because you guys know I love tacos. I know, right? I know that's a big one. Tim said Trump is never joking. Interesting. I think you're right about that one. Thank you, Andrew. We like when you're silly. We need to laugh to help get through all the BS that keeps coming our way. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Let's go to Tristan. Mexico is the U.S. largest trading partner above all others. Note that. Yeah, buddy. Jen, everything in our homes is made in China. Thank you, Trusting Success. Sabby, be yourself. We love when you're silly, you're serious, silly, funny, frustrated, etc. We're just happy to see and hear from you. Thank you so much. Brian says the U.S. will alienate itself. I think it's like, Mexico at one point considered joining BRICS, but that did not happen. But I almost feel like these actions are going to push other countries to apply to join BRICS. You're pushing them further away. Thank you, H. Lukill. Tariffs are taxes for you, people. Jan says Temu bad. I'm shopping like a billionaire. Temu. Thank you, Fuzzy Balls. BRICS freaking loves Trump. Hashtag de-dollarization. And thank you, Hotspot Casino. What's up, family? What's up with you, Hotspot? Thank you, Satra. U.S. Indico made car parts in the past, i.e. carburetors. Indian made RV. NC made furniture. Georgia made carpet. Give freedmen reparations. We will rebuild USA. These are all really good points, Satra. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, why are we not? Come on, we're not making enough furniture. My grandparents told me, they said back in the day when they were growing up, when you bought like living room furniture and bedroom furniture, like the furniture, the quality of it was so good that you didn't have to go back and buy another bedroom set. It used to be you could buy furniture and it would last for a long time. But I grew up, I'm a millennial, and I grew up in the generation that had IKEA. We're used to things falling apart. Oh my gosh. Crazy times, folks. Crazy times. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.